Good afternoon. Peace, everyone. Peace, El Grande. Thanks for everyone coming out. Yes, I'm going to have two streams back to back. This is just the introduction on the for the barbershop talk that'll be after this one. So yes, I am going to have them back to back. It's just the introduction on the for the subject of what the barbershop talk will be about, brother. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Appreciate it. Hit that like button on the way in here, fellas. We're gonna get it started here today, and I'll be. Uh, Today's story is part three on Joseph's story. I knew this would be a long one, um, so I knew I was gonna have to break it up into several parts. And of course, the title is Jealousy Part Three: Success in Spite of Sabotage. And today we'll look at how, regardless of sabotage from his envious detractors, um, and how Joseph remains true to himself and to his purpose and continues to have success in everything that he is in charge of prospers also. So today for this, we'll be looking into, we'll be in the book of Genesis. We'll be going to chapter 39, verses 19 through 23, chapter 40, verses 1 through 5. Then we'll go to verses 20 through 23 in chapter 40, and then we'll finish up with chapter 41, 18 through 13. It's got a lot of good information here in this particular story, and it just shows how him focusing on the solution instead of focusing on the problem is how he got out. What's good, Jessica X? Thanks for coming out today. So today I'll be reading from the Amplified version. So I'll be starting with verse 19. And when Joseph's master heard the words of his wife saying, "This is the way your servant treated me," his anger burned. So Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. So he was there in the prison, but the Lord was with Joseph and extended loving kindness to him and gave him favor in sight of the warden. The warden committed to Joseph's care management of all the prisoners who were in the prison, so that whatever was done there, he oversaw it. The warden paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's care because the Lord was with him. Whatever Joseph did, the Lord made to prosper. So the warden automatically saw that whatever Joseph done, it was of benefit to everyone. It was a benefit to him. So he saw that whatever Joseph done, it was success in it. He saw that he would have success in return into allowing him to manage more in his prison. So next we move to chapter 40, and we'll be doing verses 1 through 5. So now it reads, now sometime later, the cupbearer, which is butler and baker for the king of Egypt, offended their lord, Egypt's king. Pharaoh Senusret II was extremely angry with his two officials, the chief of the cupbearers and the chief of the bakers. He put them in confinement in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard put Joseph in charge of them, and he served them, and they continued to be in custody for some time. Then the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in prison, both dreamed a dream in the same night, each man with his own significant dream, and each dream with its personal interpretation. So here we have two individuals that were of importance to Pharaoh, but they angered him, and he put them in the prison where Joseph was in charge of overseeing them. So you see here that Joseph, for even though he's had detractors, continued detractors in his life through this time, he still focused on his purpose and doing what he's supposed to be doing instead of focusing on the problem. Because whenever you focus on the problem, you can't see a solution at all. When you focus on a problem, it keeps you from progressing. But Joseph here, we see he is focused on a solution. To make it short, before I skip to verse 20, basically, the cupbearer gets his dream interpreted, and the dream has a good interpretation of his dream. It has a good outcome for the cupbearer, but for the baker, it is a bad outcome, a bad ending. That basically the baker, the chief baker, is going to be put to death. He's going to die. So moving on to verse 20, it says here, now on the third day, which was the Pharaoh's birthday, he released the two men from prison, made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker. He restored the chief cupbearer to his office, and the cupbearer once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But Pharaoh hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had interpreted the meaning of the dreams to them. Yet even after all that, the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot all about him. I forgot to add in that whenever Joseph interpreted the chief cupbearer's dream, he told him not to forget about him. Whenever the Pharaoh uplifted him and brought him back to his status and position. But you see here in verse 23, it says that yet even after all that, the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot all about him. So now, moving on to verse 40. Chapter 40, my bad. Verses 1 through 5. It starts off reading now. Now it happened at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile. And lo, there came up out of the Nile 7 healthy cows, sleek and handsome and fat, and they grazed in the reed grass. Then behold, 7 other cows came up, and after them out of the Nile, ugly, gaunt, and raw-boned, and stood by the fat cows on the bank of the Nile. Then the ugly and gaunt raw-boned cows ate up the 7 sleek and fat cows. And Pharaoh, oh, I'm reading the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm going to chat. I'm supposed to be reading. I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong one. Excuse me, y'all. Supposed to be reading chapter 41, verses 8 through 13. I apologize. Excuse me. Okay. Now I'm in the right position. And it starts off now reading. So when morning came, his spirit was troubled and disturbed, and he sent and called for all the magicians and all the wise men of Egypt. And Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret to them. Then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I would mention my faults today. 2 years ago, Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and he put me in confinement in the house of the captain of the guard, both me and the chief baker. We dreamed a dream on the same night, he and I. Each of us dreamed according to the significance of the interpretation of his own dream. Now, there was with us in the prison a young man, a Hebrew servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted our dreams for us, to each man according to the significance of his own dream. And just as he interpreted the dreams for us, so it happened, I was restored to my office as chief cupbearer, and the baker was hanged. So we have here where it shows that now the chief cupbearer kept his promise, and he mentioned Joseph to him and his ability to accurately interpret the dreams that they both had. So now we come to see that the meaning for the title of my, for my content today, success in spite of sabotage, how it shows here that because Joseph was so focused on his purpose, that he is having success in spite of the sabotage that was placed upon him. He continues to excel, and everyone that he influences, they are excelling too, as meant to. Whereas, except for in this case, the chief baker, he was meant to be hanged, but the purpose, the focal point here is how Joseph is so focused on doing what he is supposed to be doing. He is focused on a solution that the problem is eluding him, even though he keeps having these detractors, he keeps having these sabotages that keep holding him back. But it's showing here that they won't be able to keep holding him back. He's going to elevate no matter what. Which I will finish up next week. Another part to it of how he's having this success. Now it extends to Pharaoh, and how Pharaoh ends up giving him more privilege and more management of his kingdom, so that the whole kingdom itself prospers. And Joseph's first dream that he interpreted to his father and to his brothers, how it ends up coming to pass. I'm going to I see Dorian. Peace to you, brother. Thanks y'all for coming out. Peace to Soul Provider. Peace, brother. How I'm going to open up the barbershop talk here. I'm gonna close this down here in a minute. That way, I can have a panel and we can talk about it. We can talk about how this particular subject, how it relates to our everyday lives now. How when focusing on a solution, how you can have success in spite of their sabotage, instead of focusing on the problem, because essentially you can't fix the problem, which in his case were the other people. But the problem you can fix is the solution you can do is to adjust your mind, your thought, and your actions to have a success in spite of the sabotage. I want to thank everyone for coming up. Don't forget to hit that like button. I appreciate everyone for coming out today. I want to say, I'll be starting. I know it's stream is scheduled for about 7 minutes, but I'm going to start it up as soon as I close this one down. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out. And don't forget to subscribe if you have not. Thank y'all for coming out, and peace, everyone.